He didn't expect her to shiver. Not someone like her. The fire crackled gently between them, its glow licking up the shadows of the surrounding rocks, casting flickering orange light over the clearing. The stars blinked into view above as the twin moons of Velthara drifted apart in the darkening sky. Everything smelled like pine and ash and something faintly metallic. He'd noticed her from the edge of the forest first, a tall, lithe figure with skin like moonlit ocean water and eyes that glowed like a cat's. She hadn't spoken when she stepped into the light. She just stood there, tense, ready to bolt. He didn't move either. Didn't even breathe hard. Any wrong motion, he figured, might spook her. Then her knees gave out. He had no idea what she'd been running from. Her uniform was torn at the shoulder and streaked with dust, as if she'd been through hell. She looked like one of them, an Alaray scout, maybe. Or a deserter. But when she hit the ground, it didn't matter. He dropped his tools and crossed the fire, his boots crunching over pebbles. "You okay?" No answer. She stared at him. One eye blinked, then the other. Slow, reptilian. Her lips parted but made no sound. She shook her head. He shrugged off his jacket and held it out. "Here. It's cold." She didn't take it. He moved closer, slow and deliberate, and laid the jacket over her shoulders. She didn't flinch this time. Just pulled it tight with one trembling hand. That was the moment something shifted between them. The tension in her spine unraveled an inch. She wasn't safe, not yet, but she wasn't running either. "You hungry?" he asked. Still nothing. He went back to the campfire, sat down, and opened a ration pack. The smell of hot stew filled the air. He didn't look up until he heard the crunch of her bare feet on the gravel. She sat 3 feet away. Silent. Watching him like an animal not sure whether to trust the hand offering food. He slid the pack toward her. "Eat." It took her a full minute, but she reached out. Took it. Ate slowly, cautiously, as if she expected it to vanish. He didn't press her for answers. Not yet. Whatever she'd been through, she wasn't ready to talk. Her name came later. So did the story. She was called Ares. And she wasn't just any scout. She was a biochanneler, one of the rare few Alaray who could interface with living systems. She'd been hunted. Betrayed by her own. "They sold me," she said days later, her voice rough with disuse. "Said I was broken. Dangerous." He didn't know what to say to that. She looked at him across the fire. "Why did you help me?" He stirred the ashes with a stick. "Didn't look like you were gonna make it. I figured, someone should give a damn." Ares laughed. A short, bitter thing. "You're the first human I've met who didn't try to shoot me on sight." "Well," he said with a tired smile, "lucky you met me after dinner." They stayed in that clearing longer than he'd planned. She started helping with the camp. Quietly, competently. He taught her to cook Earth-style. She taught him how to read Alaray tree vines for medicine. At night, she'd sit closer to the fire. Sometimes beside him. Not touching, but not far either. Then the drones came. He spotted them first, little flickers of silver high in the sky, too far for sound. He knew the pattern. Reckon. Government issue. And they weren't his. That meant one thing. They were looking for her. "We have to move," he told her. She stood without question. No argument. No fear. Just that tight readiness again, like coiled steel. She'd been on the run before. She knew what came next. But this time, she wasn't alone. They packed quickly. He ditched most of his gear, no time for luxuries. Just food, water, med supplies. She paused as they left, kneeling at the edge of the clearing, whispering something to the soil. When he asked her about it later, she said she was thanking the ground. "Why?" "It didn't give me away." They headed east, into the mountains. The climb was brutal. Rain came in sideways sheets. He lost a boot in the mud. She pulled him out twice when he slipped near ravines. He set traps at night, caught small game, shared the meat. She mended his cuts with glowing sap. They didn't sleep much. But they moved like a team. Somewhere along the ridgeline, they kissed. It wasn't planned. It wasn't dramatic. He said something sarcastic. She called him a primitive ape. They laughed. Then she leaned in, sudden and soft. It was like touching a live current, but warm. Electric. Human. She pulled away first. Her smile was small. Almost guilty. I shouldn't have done that. Do it again, he whispered. She did. They found the cave 3 days later, half buried in moss. It was hidden well. Dry. Safe. They rested there for 2 nights. On the 3rd morning, she woke him up shaking. They found us. Outside, the air buzzed faintly. Drones. Lots of them. He pulled her behind the rocks, heart pounding. You can't go back. I know. They'll kill you. Only if they catch me. She looked calm. Too calm. That scared him. What are you not telling me? I can stop them, she said. But I have to use all of it. All of what? She didn't answer. She stepped out of the cave. His shouts echoed against the cliffs. She didn't look back. The sky lit up with a pulse of green light. And everything changed. The world didn't end. It should have. That much power, unleashed all at once, he expected fire, collapse, maybe even a crater. But what happened was different. The sky didn't explode. The ground didn't split. Instead, everything just stopped. The buzz of the drones vanished like someone flipped a cosmic switch. He stood frozen in the cave's mouth, barely breathing. No wind. No birds. Just an eerie calm draped over the mountain like a shroud. Then she walked back in. Ariz's eyes glowed faintly, veins in her arms lit up like circuits beneath her skin. Her steps were steady but slow, like she'd left something vital behind on that slope. What did you do? He asked. She sank down against the cave wall, sweat gleaming on her brow. I talked to them. He blinked. Talked. They're drones. Living tech. Organic signal threads. I reached their center stream, convinced them I wasn't a threat. He crouched beside her. And they just left. For now. I told them to forget this place. But they'll remember eventually. Are you okay? She didn't answer. Her hands trembled. Not from fear, but exhaustion. He wrapped the jacket around her again. Rest. She slept for hours. When she woke, the glow was gone from her skin, replaced by pallor. He cooked. She ate. Quiet fell between them again, but it wasn't silence. It was something warmer. He knew they couldn't stay there. By evening, they moved. He fashioned a crude sled for supplies. She refused to be carried. Pride like stone. But she leaned on him now and then, letting herself be human, or whatever her version of that was. What happens if they come again? He asked as they crossed the ridgeline. I don't know. I've never gone that deep into the network before. Could it hurt you? It already is. He didn't press further. They descended into the lowlands, lush jungle canopies and humid air thick with pollen. The Alaray didn't usually patrol here. Too wild. Too alive. That made it perfect. Or so he thought. They were 2 days in when the ground turned to glass. Literally. Blackened patches of soil with trees snapped like twigs and everything shining like obsidian. Ares stopped mid-step. What is this? He whispered. Memory burn. Explain. They use it when they want to erase something from existence. People. Places. Truths. He stared across the scorched earth. You mean someone lived here? Not anymore. They avoided that valley. That night, Ares cried in her sleep. She never had before. He didn't wake her. Just sat by the fire, sharpening his knife, listening to the woods. Watching shadows. The next morning, her voice was rough. You ever think about how fast we forget things? Sometimes. Memory burn works because nobody looks twice. No one asks. They just move on. He nodded. Not me. She looked at him then, like she was seeing something she hadn't before. They reached a river by dusk. Wide, deep, slow-moving. Perfect for travel. He built a raft. She reinforced it with living tendrils from the bank that wove themselves together at her touch. They drifted for days. She started talking more. Telling him about her world. Her people. How they weren't all bad, but how corruption had poisoned their roots. How her abilities were once revered until fear turned them into a threat. "I didn't want to be special," she said one night as they floated under stars. "I just wanted to belong." "You do," he said. She smiled. Not sad this time. Real. But peace didn't last. They saw the ship on the fifth night, low in the sky, scanning beams like lances of light across the treetops. Not Alaray. Human. He cursed. Scouts. Government. Or bounty hunters, she said, tone dark. They beached the raft and ran. The forest closed around them, but it wasn't safe. Nothing that quiet could be. He triggered the tripwire first, a crackling pulse that sent him flying. Ares caught him before he hit a stone. "You okay?" "Been better." She scanned the trees. "EMP web. They're herding us." "To what?" Before she could answer, the net fell. Energy crackled across the canopy, locking them in a dome of shimmering violet light. Shapes emerged, 6 figures in black armor, visors glowing red. Human contractors. Not official. Mercs. One stepped forward. "You've got something that doesn't belong to you, sir." He stepped between them and Ares. "She's not a thing." The merc's voice crackled through his helmet. "I don't care. She's marked property. Like hell. Stand aside." He didn't. The merc raised his weapon. Ares moved faster. She leapt, hands glowing. The blast knocked 2 mercs flat. He ducked under a wild swing, grabbed a rock, and slammed it into another's helmet. Crunch. Sparks. But they were losing. Too many. She fell beside him, panting, bleeding. He grabbed her hand. "Run. There's nowhere left." He looked into her eyes. "Then we make somewhere." She nodded. Together, they turned to face the last wave. And the forest answered. Roots tore from the earth. Vines lashed out. The trees themselves groaned and shifted. Ares stood tall, voice echoing in a language he didn't know, but felt in his bones. The mercs screamed. Nature swallowed them whole. Silence returned. She collapsed in his arms. He held her all night. Morning came slow, golden, clean. And they were still alive. But the cost hadn't been paid yet. Not even close. The silence that followed wasn't peace. It was the kind that comes after a scream, shaking, breathless, and uncertain. He washed the blood off her hands first. She was barely conscious, curled against a mossy boulder as he cleaned her wounds. Most were surface burns. But the pulsing glow under her skin, that was new. And it didn't fade. He waited till her eyes fluttered open. "Still here," she whispered. "Always." She tried to smile. "It didn't quite work. I thought you'd run. Then you don't know me yet." He made her drink, eat. She obeyed without argument, too tired to resist. He watched her closely. Something had changed, not just her energy, but the way the forest responded to her. Roots curled toward her in sleep. Water pooled at her side uncalled. Even light seemed to linger on her skin. "I think I did something permanent," she muttered 2 nights later, when her strength returned enough to walk. "You mean when you spoke to the trees?" "I didn't speak. I fused." His brows knit. "Fused? With the biome? I'm in its network now. Not just communicating. Bonded." He looked at the forest around them. "So you're part of it." "I am it," she said, voice distant. "Or it's me. I don't know anymore." She wasn't scared. That's what disturbed him most. Just resigned. "What happens now?" he asked. "We keep moving. They'll send more. Maybe not mercs this time. Maybe worse." He helped her up. "Then we make them regret it." They traveled under moonlight now, moving between deep-rooted groves and sunken gullies where no signal could reach. Her sense of direction had sharpened unnaturally. She would pause mid-step, head tilted, then say, "Not that way," without explaining why. He trusted her. That's why he didn't hesitate when she said they needed to find the hollow. "What is it?" he asked. "Where the forest keeps secrets." It took 6 days to reach it. 6 days of evading sensor scans, crossing ravines, and surviving off roots and wild game. He lost weight. She barely slept. Once, she seized in her sleep, whispering fragments in Alaray tongue, fragments the trees seemed to echo. When they arrived, he understood the name. The hollow wasn't empty. It was waiting. A massive sinkhole in the middle of a lush basin, lined with crystal growths and giant twisted trees whose branches formed natural arches. The energy was palpable, like stepping inside a heartbeat. She collapsed at the edge. He carried her down. Inside, time moved strange. The sun never quite touched the floor. Shadows coiled like living things. She slept for a full day. When she awoke, she looked different. Not physically, but something in her gaze. "They're coming," she said. He didn't ask how she knew. She sat cross-legged on the crystal floor and began humming. A low, vibrating tone that echoed through the chamber. The trees responded. The crystals shimmered. He backed away, watching. Her skin lit up, veins pulsing green, then blue, then a strange golden hue he'd never seen. Her hair rose slightly, like charged by static. The air thickened. He felt it in his chest. Then the dream hit him. Not sleep. Vision. He saw a city burning. He saw men in suits, not soldiers, arguing over screens. He saw the Alaray homeworld, hollowed out like a fruit left to rot. He saw a girl in a lab, younger Ares, screaming as wires latched into her spine. Then he saw himself. Alone. He gasped and fell backward. When he opened his eyes, she was standing over him. "You saw it," she said softly. "What was that?" "A memory tree. It let you inside me." He touched his temple. "Why?" "You had to know. I didn't ask it to. It chose." He didn't speak for a long time. Just looked at her. "Why do they want you so badly?" "Because I'm the last one who can fix them," she said. "But they don't want fixing. They want control." He stood slowly. "Then we stop them." She smiled for real this time. Together. Always. That night, they made a plan. Not to run. Not to hide. But to broadcast. The hollow was ancient, capable of sending living signals across planetary networks. A biopulse. One that couldn't be jammed. They would expose the truth. He set up the relay. She coded the message. "They'll trace this," he said. "I'm counting on it." The next morning, they launched the pulse. Across the stars, across human systems, Alaray sectors, trade relays, and black markets, truth spread. And with it, a target on both their backs. She turned to him. "They won't stop. Then we don't either." They kissed again. It wasn't electricity this time. It was fire. The first strike came at dawn. He heard it before he saw it, a low hum, like thunder trapped inside metal lungs. The sky turned red. Not from sunrise, but from atmospheric distortion. They were here. All of them. Human warships. Alaray interceptors. Mercenary drones. All converging on one signal, the hollow. He stood beside Ares at the edge of the basin. Her fingers laced with his, glowing faintly. She looked calm. Not because she expected to win, but because she'd already chosen what mattered. "We could run," he whispered. She shook her head. "We've already changed it. What we do now decides how it changes." The ground trembled. Trees shifted. And then it began. The hollow awakened fully. Crystals burst upward, refracting the incoming beams. Vines coiled and thickened, creating walls. Ares moved like a conductor, arms raised, hair whipping behind her. She wasn't fighting the forest, she was the forest now. He covered her flank, weapon ready. Not firing unless needed, conserving every shot. She didn't need protection. She needed time. The fleets began their assault. Blasts hammered the basin, but none hit their mark. Energy deflected, redirected, absorbed. Creatures he couldn't name emerged, part plant, part armor, all fury. They weren't fighting for Ares. They were fighting with her. He saw confusion ripple through the enemy ranks. Then panic. "This isn't just defense," he muttered. "It's memory." She nodded. "They'll remember this. One by one, the attackers fell back. Some destroyed. Some disarmed. Some simply changed. Ships veered off course as pilots lost control, not from damage, but doubt. The truth pulse had spread faster than anticipated. Systems were questioning. Soldiers were deserting. A spark had caught fire. By noon, it was over. The skies cleared. The ships were gone. He stood there, dazed. Heart pounding. Mud-soaked and bruised. But alive. And beside him, Ares, glowing brighter than ever. "You okay?" he asked. She looked at the hollow, now still again. "I can't leave anymore. I'm part of this now." He felt his throat tighten. "Then I stay too." She turned to him. "You don't have to. I want to." Silence stretched. Then she nodded. They built a new home in the basin's edge. It wasn't grand. Just shelter, warmth, and safety. Visitors came in time, other fugitives, outcasts, even curious officials with white flags instead of weapons. Some stayed. Some learned. Some left changed. The story of the Hollow spread like folklore, half myth, half warning. A place where truth lived. Where a girl fused with a forest. Where war turned into roots and stone. Years passed. He aged. She didn't. But he never resented it. Not once. On his final night, he sat beside her, breath shallow, eyes dimming. The fire flickered low. Her hand in his. "You made them remember," he said. "No," she whispered. You did." He smiled. Closed his eyes. And passed into peace. They buried him under the oldest tree in the hollow. She visits every day. The forest still moves to her voice. But when she speaks his name, even the stars seem to listen. Moral. Sometimes, all it takes to change the future is one act of kindness, a single moment where you choose to offer warmth instead of fear. In a galaxy built on power, the most unstoppable force is care. He offered her a blanket. And she gave the universe back its soul.